Hi, welcome to Life Skills with Louie. I'm Louie, and today we are talking about an example of a missing behavior analysis to understand it better. If you haven't watched the missing behavior analysis video, that's a good thing to do. Also, there's an intro to behavioral analysis that's helpful. There's an intro to the connecting to clear section of skills. And then there's an intro to the entire video series that talks about all 5 sections and when you use each one. Let's dive right into this example. I already kind of did this in the missing behavior analysis video, but I'm going to really dive in more to what it would look like to do one of these. And I'm going to use the example I was using in the missing behavior analysis video, which is exercise, which is one that I still work on today. So, as I said with a missing behavior analysis, I am the one who is deciding to exercise. So the first barrier does not apply. I'm aware of what I'm intending to do. But if my doctor had said, hey, you really need to exercise, and I either didn't hear them or heard them for a second and then forgot about it, never even wrote it down to consider it, then it might have to do with this first barrier. But it doesn't in my situation. The second barrier, motivation and threat. So we'll take each of those and I'll kind of compile issues that have come up for me over time in regards to this. So certainly there have been times where my motivation to exercise is low. And a lot of that can have to do with the way I'm thinking about it, that I'm thinking I have to do it for reasons of health. And that doesn't actually ring true as something that matters to me on a deep visceral level. I kind of understand that, yeah, health is a good thing, but I'm not feeling it inside. On the other hand, what I have found for me is that I have always loved movement. As a kid, I loved to move. I love things like dancing. And so if I think about, yeah, I want to be able to move until I'm old and really move well and feel free inside, that actually sparks real motivation in me, in my body that I feel. And so suddenly my motivation spikes up. So holding on to that and keeping that in mind before, during, and after exercising is a key thing for me for increasing my motivation. In regards to threat, I am someone who, when I was younger, had a lot of injuries and has done working out in such a way that has caused me injuries at times. And so I have done some work to really make exercise a much safer endeavor where I'm less likely to have injuries. I'm kind of over it. I'm done with having injuries during exercise. So I focus on really safe activities, which brings the threat level down. And I don't have a lot of psychological perceived threat. I can sometimes get into a forced march with exercise. So I have to be careful and really keep in mind that going back to motivation, this is the reason I'm doing this. And to watch out. And I've done dialogue restructuring with parts of my psyche that are a little more into the forced march to understand them better and help them loosen up a bit. And that decreases the threat so that it's more likely to happen. So that makes this barrier go away. Now, right thought, right time. This is a bit of a challenge for me because I have a busy schedule. My day is busy. I have a good bit of driving. So when can this fit in? So over time, I have come to realize that right when I get home, after just getting out of the car, getting inside, that's a good time for me. Either I can go right to the gym or one thing I like to do is a mini trampoline. It's just exceedingly fun. Uh, Goes to the motivation thing again. And so if that's my backstop, then I can just go right and do that. The other thing is that during the day, if there's breaks, I can get some movement in then and remind myself, and I have kind of in my workflow, something to remind myself of, like, if I have a moment I can do some movement, that would be good too. So I've put these thoughts in to alert me at the times when it would be possible for me to do some exercise. And then the thought does sometimes occur to me at the appropriate time I'm getting out of the car, and then it still may not happen. Well, what comes up for me? I think one thing, after a long day, I can feel a physical fatigue. that really can feel like a hump I have to get over. And what I've found for me is if I go to the getting to great skills and I think about, especially like opposite action from the ineffective actions video and somatic restructuring, some of those skills, if I really gently start to stretch first, move my body, and focus on that, then it does warm me up. And also doing a little bit of imagery of reminding myself the motivation and seeing myself as moving and having fun can start to perk me up so that that fatigue doesn't become a barrier that fully stops me. So this is one example of going through the barriers and seeing how you can still use skills from getting to great to overcome them. You're working on motivation, putting the thought in at the right time. Last thing I'll say is really only focus on one new behavior bringing in at a time. Trying to do too many things at once tends to not work and just be overwhelming. Really cement a new habit and then move on to another one. Thank you. Hope this is helpful.